I remember dancing around and like beating on things to Beatles records and stuff when I was a little kid from my older brothers. But yeah, I mean, I played since I was 10 years old anyway. So. I mean, after the Zeppelin thing got going and I got into the drum kit, I mean, that was where the most challenging drumming sounded like it was going on, was like in the fusion guys in the 70s. So I was really into like Billy Cobham and Lenny White and Steve Gadd, just all those king drummers, you know, in the 70s. Or you know, you can't help really, I guess, but be into that if you're growing up and trying to learn all that stuff.
And on the 16 just about.
African type rhythms always appealed to me more, I think, than like the Brazilian type rhythms and the Latin type thing. I don't know why. It's just a personal preference thing, I guess. But I always liked kind of the 6 and 3 against 2 and 6 against 4 kind of feel that a lot of the African beats had. You know, I mean, I steal stuff from that all the time. You know, that's, I mean, sometimes consciously, but you know, I think a lot of times even subconsciously, it just happens and it comes out because I like that feel a lot. It's not so much like it's a real mathematical thing, but those polyrhythms just, they have like a heavy natural groove and sort of a melody. The rhythms turn into almost melodies at a certain point, you know, when there's different rhythms happening at the same time. I've always been into that since I was a kid. I mean, I used to always like African music and things like that, you know, and just, yeah, I don't know, just, it always intrigued me, like the way the rhythms and not just the melodies go against each other, like in music and stuff, between the guitar and the bass. And I always try to listen for that a lot. And usually, if anything, I try not to play, you know, what they're playing a lot of the time, and kind of play around with it because it makes it push and pull. After I heard this, and this was like 1980, you know, and it kind of brought me around. It was like a revolution practically when I heard this record compared to everything else that was going on at that time. It was just so many new textures that I hadn't heard, and the textural thing is what I really liked about it. I mean, the main one, I guess, that inspired me a lot was 7, the title track. This one, it's really because of the time signatures that are going on are just completely innovative, you know, from what was going on. I mean, the guitars are like playing in 5 over it, and the drums are like in 15, so it's like creates this cycle that only meets up every, you know, 3rd bar for the guitars, you know, and it just has such a nice flow to it. And the drums are all like log drums and toms and things, rather than just playing right on a cymbal and stuff. And it's just a neat thing because it lets the guitars have as important accents as the drums almost, you know. Everybody has their place. It's a real communal type thing, and I've never heard anyone play like that. Usually it's always the lead vocal that's out over the top and all that. And everything's right, mixed at the same level. You know, it's real comfortable for me to listen to. I always get the feeling when I listen to King Crimson, even though Bruford is an incredible drummer and has just incredible time, I always feel like Robert is sort of controlling the time in the band. Is his just the way he feels time and has command over time is so intense. You know, I don't think anyone could ever pull him out of his thing. You know, he's just rock solid. You know, I mean, it's more solid than almost any drummer I've ever heard. His time is perfect. the drums, I mean, I need to attack them hard. I mean, in this band, because it gives a powerful sound when the drums are played powerfully. So, I mean, the harder I hit, the better they sound. I think that's just the nature of the drums that I picked out too, is they have a lot thicker shells than other people's drums normally do, I think. And I don't know, when I played on thinner kits, sometimes it seemed like I could overplay them almost. Like you hit so hard, and if you hit harder, they don't really get louder. They just don't sound as good. But these drums, since they're more sturdy built, the harder I hit, the louder they get, and it just kind of sets the shell in vibration and makes the sound have a better impact. And it's because Tool's such a physical band that the drums have to be able to take that kind of punishment, I guess. I mean, that was why I picked them, these drums to play with. I think I hit harder than a lot of drummers do anyway. It's just a membrane, and if you have part of it tightened tighter than another, then it turns into something very uneven, so it's not working with itself. If you get it where it's evenly tensioned all the way around, then it'll have a fundamental frequency that starts in the middle of the head and has more overtones as it goes toward the edges. So if it's all resonating together, it just has a much bigger, fatter sound, because it's just moving more air is all it comes down to.
It's a pretty large kit now.
Yeah, I guess that was, came from staying at home for about a year. It's easy to start accumulating things, and then when it comes tour time, you're like, oh my God, I played these songs on all this stuff now, and so I have to take it with us,
Where does that stop?
Yeah, who knows? Maybe never. Having something like this opens up a lot more textural, doors that you can go through, just because I can put, breaking metal or glass or just all sorts of things in these pads, and I don't have to carry around all these big pieces of metal or like ethnic drums. I mean, and this has helped, size-wise from getting out of control, I think, because I can just work infinitely on this machine and not have to actually carry around stuff. Most of the samples that I use, I do myself. I have the equipment at home, a microphone and a DAP machine, and just go around and find things, like the ones in Hooker with a Penis. Most of those are dumpster samples, just from the dumpster that sits outside my house, and we hit with a sledgehammer or something like that. And the broken glass ones I did at my house too. Yeah, I guess different ones come from different places. Like some of the weird segue things, there's almost like the samples inspired the compositions of those, rather than the composition inspiring the samples. I think it can kind of go both ways.
Sneak behind me hisses what my damage could have been. My blood before me begs me, open up my heart again. And I feel this coming over like a storm again now.
I say, it's not that hard a kit to make sound good, because it sounds good from the source. And everything that sounds good from the source makes the sound engineer's life a lot easier, that's for sure. I mean, the dynamics, the way his kit sounds, everything is done on stage, and I just amplify it basically. Yeah, you know, just adjustments for the room, different times, you know, more low end, more less mid, more high mid, whatever, you know.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good,
Yeah,
really,
it's-
just to leave it running like that. I mean,
Yeah.
there's ports that are up and down, but you wouldn't really want to
No.
compensate for it too much just because it went ahead, I think. At the very beginning, where it's just the bass and the percussion thing, maybe just a little more of the reverb on that at the top. A lot of it, I guess, has to do with just the mic choice, you know, and tuning the drums. You know, I mean, I know I like a round, full sound coming out of the drum a lot of the time, and I think the best way to get that is just making sure the drum is in tune with itself. You know, and that goes further than anything else you can do. And then, of course, you do have to translate it to the people, so then it comes down to a microphone, you know, and that's your only connection. And it's real important too, the placement of the mics and just the choice. You know.
But none of the samples emulate acoustic drum sounds. They're all, you know, obviously not acoustic drums, so.
Because it was all recorded in the same way. I mean, I think once we get this set, you can just let it go, and all the tunes is going to be the same thing. So you can kind of just. That's good. I can hear so many different things to do over the top of it. It almost wouldn't matter sometimes, because when you get certain polyrhythms together, they almost create their own melodies, you know, and just depending on what textures you're playing, and if you do that, then you have songs in themselves, you know. And sometimes it's nice just to have, you know, nothing but drumming. I think it's relaxing for people to play, because they can just kind of create their own songs, their own melodies over the top of it. You know, it's a comfortable thing to do. You know. Sometimes space is better like that, just to let the rhythm do all the work. It's more what the songs need, you know, I think and what the band needs, you know, but I mean, the songs are the main thing, so you just try to find what works along with the other instruments and that vehicle, that particular song, you know. And that was, well, I had the SDX thing here, and that's, you know, added a lot of flexibility too, because every song I can just hit a button, and then I have a whole different set of sounds that are good samples, you know, that I can play on along with it, you know. Or the drums, you know, are just the basic core of it all. To me, the best is like a merge of both of them, you know. I mean, I'm sure I'll keep using more and more samples and try to push things further that way, but I always want to be the one controlling the time of it, just because it feels better, I think, that way. And if somehow it makes it more accessible, that it's not all perfect or something. You know.